Hello guys! Today we will give you a detailed summary of the plot in Ni No Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. This Japanese role-playing game was released exclusively for the PlayStation 3 back in 2013. It was developed by the Japanese developers of Level 5 and included animated cutscenes by the world-famous Studio Ghibli. We start our journey in Motorville, a fictional town located in our real world. We take control of Oliver, a young boy and protagonist of the game, who lives a joyful life with his mother Ellie. However, Oliver's happy existence will soon be shaken. While playing, he gets into an accident and lands in a nearby river, almost drowning in the process. He narrowly escapes the clutches of death, saved by his mother, but not without paying a price. His mother succumbs to a heart attack soon after saving him. In his grief, Oliver unintentionally awakens his lifeless doll into life by shedding tears onto it. The incarnated doll, a fairy called Drippy, informs Oliver about the existence of a parallel world to his. Furthermore, he claims that each being in the human world has a soulmate in this parallel world, and there may be a savior for his mother, if they manage to find a soulmate, the great sage Alicia. After magically opening a gateway to the world of Ni No Kuni, Oliver starts his quest to save his mother, accompanied by Drippy. At the other side of the gateway, Oliver steps onto one of the four major continents of Ni No Kuni, the Summerlands, where he will be immersed in battles with familiars, tameable creatures inhabiting this world. A big part of the game will consist in taming familiars and training them in order to fight your way through the story. Oliver and Drippy travel to Ding Dong Dell, one of the three great kingdoms in Ni No Kuni, where Oliver and Drippy will be refused entry by a broken-hearted god. Drippy suggests they travel to the deep dark wood in order to visit Old Father Oak and seek counsel. While Old Father Oak searches for the spells to cure brokenheartedness, Oliver will have to calm down the Guardian of the Woods, the first major boss in the game. The reason for the brokenheartedness of the inhabitants of Ni No Kuni seems to be Shadar's magic. Shadar is described as a very shady and vaguely known magician who apparently has succumbed to evil. After obtaining the spells, the party will head back to Ding Dong Dell, cure the guard, and be allowed to enter the town. Oliver and Drippy have an audience with King Tom Tildrum XIV, an anthropomorphic cat. However, shortly thereafter the king disappears, and Oliver will have to return to the human world for the first time in the game in order to solve this problem. In Motorville, Oliver will have to locate King Tom's soulmate, a cat, and return it to its owner. Returning to the fantasy world, Oliver will now enter the sewers to fight a mice infestation and the second major boss of the game, the king of all mice, Hickory Dock. After solving all problems in Ding Dong Dell, Oliver and Drippy will proceed through the Golden Grove to reach the desert kingdom Mamoon, where they hope to encounter one of the great sages, Rashad. While crossing the forest, they will be attacked by another major boss, the guardian of the Golden Grove, the Gladiator. After leaving the Golden Grove, our character will need to cross a desert to reach Mamoon, where he hopes to find some clues for Alicia's whereabouts. Rashad, who has given up magic because of Shadar, refuses to help Oliver. However, Oliver manages to get his help by curing his daughter Esther. In order to do so, Oliver returned to the human world to find out that Rashad's soulmate and the father of Esther's soulmate was broken-hearted. He defeats Rashad's nightmare, an evil creature that lurks inside broken-hearted people's minds, and returns to the fantasy world of Ni No Kuni. Here, Esther joins his party and Rashad tells him to travel to the Temple of Trials. The Temple of Trials is home to the Supreme Sage Solomon, mentor of the great sages. With Rashad's help, Solomon allows the party to prove their valor in tests. They have to prove their wits, friendly bonds, and finally strength by defeating the next major boss of the game, Bashura. As a reward, Oliver obtains a familiar and, most importantly, the ability to tame new familiars himself. Up till now, Oliver had only obtained familiars as rewards by other non-playable characters. Furthermore, he will also be informed about the ability to metamorph his familiar into a more powerful form, if certain criteria are met. Leaving the Temple of Trials, a volcano, Old Smoky, starts its eruption process and Oliver, Esther and Drippy are tasked with stopping it from erupting. Fighting their way up the volcano, they reach its summit and meet Shadar in person. However, instead of fighting the adventurers himself, he will send a huge volcanic creature, called Multan, after them and disappear. After beating Multan, the party is asked to return to Mamoon. Here they learn that they should proceed to the port town of Castaway Cove in order to progress towards Automnia, the next and second largest continent of Ni No Kuni, by boat. Automnia is also the residence of Moccasin, the Porcine Prince and one of the great sages. Oliver and company encounter a thief, Swain, who has stolen an alchemical cauldron. After opening the cauldron, a boss, Alchemy, genie of the pot, will leave the cauldron and face our heroes. Before being allowed to embark the ship, Oliver will be asked to return to Mamoon to cure the Queen, Queen Lola. Oliver will return once again to the human world to interact with Queen Lola's soulmate in order to cure her. Having done so, Oliver and friends will need to face Swain's nightmare at Castaway Cove, after which he will join the party. Oliver's party, containing now Oliver himself, Gippy, Esther and Swain, will then set sail for Autumnia. While on board of the ship, Shadar appears and fights our heroes himself. However, unlike other opponents, Shadar is no enemy Oliver can face, at least not yet. After the fight, Oliver and friends will awaken on Tahiti, the island where the Fairygrounds are located. They make acquaintance of the fairy godmother, the mother of all fairies, and are asked to enter her in order to find the baby fairies. The party soon discovers that there are monsters inside the fairy godmother frightening the baby fairies. Defeating them and their boss, the royal jelly, will allow them to proceed and solve the problem. Next up, Oliver and company set sail to Autumnia, more precisely towards the kingdom of Hamelin and its Porcine Palace, the palace of the Porcine Prince Marquesin. Inside the Porcine Palace, they need to sneak by the guards to reach the prince. Unfortunately, they are intercepted by the next boss, the mechanical tank Porco Rosso, and they'll need to fight their way past it. They fight Marquesin, but soon realize that his will is broken. The party is then mysteriously sent into the past and discover that in order to cure Marquesin and obtain a weapon powerful enough to confront Shadar, they need to advance through the Tombstone Trail. At the end of this spooky mountain trail, they fight the boss Candelabracadabra and obtain some belief from the young Marquesin, while also obtaining the powerful wand monster, although yet unpowered. They meet Gallus, a mysterious mage and zodiarch of the White Witch, who reveals that he is in fact the spirit form of the Wizard King, the former wielder of Monstar and the person who had helped Oliver travel back in time to obtain the monster. His reasoning for this was to save his own daughter, Cassiopeia, who had become the evil and cursed White Witch. The Zodiac Key and the White Witch will return later on in the game. Back in the present, you'll need to inject the belief you obtained from young Marquesin into the current prince to cure him. Having left Hamelin, Oliver will now need to look for 3 magic stones to power up Monster. In order to achieve this, he will need a map containing the locations of these stones, which is currently in the possession of Kublai, leader of the Sky Pirates. Thus, he will set sail alongside his friends to Skull Mountain, the operational base of the Sky Pirates. There they will face the Red Dragon, another major boss of the game. After its defeat, the party will need to cure some people again, before being rewarded with the ability to fly on the Dragon Tangri on the overworld map. This ability will be needed to land on Solitary Isle, to inspect a monolith which reveals the locations of the 3 magic stones on Kublai's map. The 3 magic stones are located at 3 different locations: inside the ghost ship, in the Vault of Tears, and in the Glittering Grotto. After arriving at the ghost ship, our heroes will need to face 2 bosses: the minor boss Jetsam and the captain of the ship, Captain Crossbones. Defeating them yields the first magic stone. The Vault of Tears is located on the shore of the Summerlands. Our party fights their way through the ancient structure and defeat Apep, the Cobra King, in order to obtain the second magic stone. The Glittering Grotto is located on the Winter Isles. After landing on the Winter Isles, the adventurers will progress to the small town of Yule towards the Glittering Grotto. Inside the grotto, they will need to fight their way through the mobs and face the wolf-like boss, Ceriborias. They are rewarded with the third magic stone after beating it. After recollecting the 3 magic stones, Oliver and company pay a visit to Hamelin. Here, they meet a spirit of a Xanadu ghost, who tells them to travel to Perdida, an old city Shadar has once destroyed. Perdida is also the residence of Kulan, another great sage. Once arrived, the party is soon confronted by Kulan's nightmare. After its defeat, Oliver transfers love from Kublan, the leader of the Sky Pirates and love interest of Kulan, into the Great Sage to cure her. As a result, she will help you complete the powerful Wand monster. Shortly thereafter, and after a small detour, Oliver, Esther Swain and Drippy finally reach the Miasma Marshes, the entryway to Shadar's realm. At the end of the marshes, they are attacked by the Vileheart, another major boss, and defeated. However, the defeated Vileheart drops a gem, the Soul Gem, that should hold Alicia, the soulmate of Oliver's mother, as indicated by the Great Sages. In truth, however, it only contains the last memory of Alicia. Long ago, way before the beginning of Ni No Kuni, Alicia could not defeat Shadar, a once prideful mage fallen into darkness, and hoped to save him from his dark path by searching for his soulmate in the human world. However, since Shadar had eliminated his soulmate beforehand, she took a gamble and traveled both through space and time. She does indeed manage to arrive in Motorville in the past and awaits the incarnation of Shadar's soulmate. Sometime later, after settling in, she gives birth to Oliver and dies as seen in the beginning of Ni No Kuni. This shocking revelation implies that Oliver's mother, Ellie, is indeed beyond savior, as she was actually Alicia, the great sage who had traveled through time and space. Entering the castle of Shadar in Nevermore, Oliver discovers the truth. Shadar is indeed the soulmate of Oliver. Shadar also reveals that he has already killed all other incarnations of Oliver in order to remain undefeated and immortal. Not dissuaded by this revelation, but instead motivated to protect everything he holds dear, Oliver decides to face Shadar in an epic clash. Oliver and friends manage to defeat Shadar in his human form, but that's not enough to beat the powerful mage. He summons his own familiar, the Eternal Night. After beating the Knight, Shadar arises in his most powerful form, the Dark Djinn. After a tough battle, Oliver and company manage to overcome Shadar and finally defeat him. After his defeat, Shadar is confronted by Alicia's memory, who tells him that he was a savior once, when Shadar was still a kind mage. Visibly affected by this confession, Shadar decides to undo the soul link to Oliver, allowing Oliver to live while fading into the next world. Peace may now return to the world of Ni No Kuni, and Oliver may return to his world. Or not? After the apparent defeat of evil, Oliver returns to his home world, only to meet again with Pia, a mysterious girl who Oliver has met sometimes during the story. This time, however, her appearance seems to be of a bigger importance than only minor help. Oliver decides to return to the fantasy world of Ni No Kuni, where King Tom and the population seems to be possessed after being touched by something ash-like. Before our party can be harmed, Marcussin jumps to the rescue and gets them to safety aboard the Iron Wyvern, the flagship of the Sky Pirates. They are told that King Tom, Queen Lola and Porco Rosso have been afflicted by the ashes. In order to get them back to their senses, they'll have to defeat them and destroy the structures emitting black ash. After this, Oliver and company travel on Tangri to Nazca, an old plateau leading to the Ara Memoriae, the entryway to the Ivory Tower. The Ivory Tower turns out to be the floating tower of the White Witch, the true evil in Ni No Kuni. The White Witch and her Council of 12, the Zodiarchy, have been sporadically shown during the entire game, for instance while talking to Shadar. Behind the curtains, the White Witch has been the head of the operations the whole time, and now her time to pay has come. While going through the Ivory Tower, Oliver and his companions are faced by Gallus once again. Gallus refuses to let them pass without testing their strength, to see if they can indeed save Cassiopeia. After defeating him, you finally reach Cassiopeia, the White Witch. Oliver manages to defeat her in her human, animal and demon form after tedious battles, and finally free Cassiopeia. Finally, Cassiopeia, or as the Wizard King called her, Pia, has been freed from her evilness and curse. After this epic clash, Oliver returns to his world, having brought peace to Ni No Kuni and to his own mind after the cathartic effect of his journey to save his mother. This sums up pretty much the story of Ni No Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. I hope you guys had fun while listening, and I'll gladly answer to any remaining questions. See you around next time.